closer.
Okay,
Yeah.
is that yours too?
Yep, that's mine too.
All right,
Yeah.
so got it out of your way, right midway.
Yep.
Wrong place.
All right, so great to be here. And I just want to say, Scooter, no dogma spoken here. And I'm happy to report that the aloe snip that I took last time is doing really well.
Oh.
I was like, this needs to be pruned, and I was
Yeah.
like, so I took a little snippet, and I have a nice plant coming. So anyway, so I have a little touch of unity in the southern tier in my house through my aloe.
Mm.
All right, so let's just take a moment and center ourselves and open to the presence and the power of that spirit that we acknowledge and align with in consciousness, for we know that that presence and power was within us and accessible to us in every moment of our lives. And so we just breathe in, open our minds, our hearts, our whole beings to that presence. And we say, infinite, eternal presence, source and sustainer of the life that we call ours. We are so blessed to be together this morning, to explore the ideas and the truths that help us see that our imaginations are the power within us to create. And so we give thanks for this gathering and this time and the ability to come together and share these thoughts and join our hearts in truth and love. And we say, thank you. Amen. So the name of my talk that I had to come up with, that pressure to, it was Diana. Is it Diana or Diane?
Diana.
She emailed me. She said, I'm going out of town. I got to have it right away. I'm like, okay. So it's stop waiting, start creating. And I could say stop complaining, start creating. I could have said many other things. Well, interesting, I picked the title and then I realized that this is the first Sunday of June. And so we're entering a new month and there are 12 powers, one for each month of the year. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, came up with the 12 powers of man. And the word for the month, the power of the month is imagination. So isn't that fabulous? And so, when Charles Fillmore thought of the 12 powers, or that idea was inspired within him, Jesus, as that way shower, was calling forth each power represents a disciple, and each disciple represents a different power, and all those powers are the aspects of God that we can call on at any time, having been made in the image and likeness of God. And so Jesus called the 12 disciples to him one at a time. He was gathering the powers of that God self within him. And so as he was surrounded by those powers and filled with those powers, he became the way shower that we know him to be. The location in the body is the third eye, which is basically if you went straight into your brain and straight between your ears, you would come to the spot where this center is located, this power center is located, and the color is light blue. And I love that it's light blue, because how many times we say, oh, it came to me out of the blue. That your imagination works from that place out of the blue. So I just really love that is the color. I'm going to start with, oh my goodness, my living room is covered with books right now, and I only brought 3 and wrote some quotes down. So the first quote I want to read is from Reverend Linda Martello Whitsett. Now she is currently the director or the leader of Silent Unity, okay? And she is a fabulous writer. Her first book is How to Pray Without Talking to God. Absolute must for any Unity people who really want to explore what the Unity prayer process is. How to pray without talking to God, that God out there. How to bring ourselves into alignment with that consciousness. So let's see what she has to say. So this book is called Divine Audacity. She's talking about claiming those 12 powers for ourselves. They are within us. And she said they're not all present all the time. But when we need those powers, we can call them forth. And so let's see what she says. She calls them light instead of powers, the light of imagination. And so she starts out and says, imagination is our powerful capacity to picture what can be. And by holding that idea and developing it until we feel its effects while it is yet unmanifest, to live that idea until essentially it becomes our reality. And she has a quote from James Dillett Freeman in here, and if those Unity people that have been a long time, you're familiar with. He was the poet laureate of Unity. We say his prayer for protection every single Sunday. And did you know that prayer for protection went with the astronauts to the moon? It is on the moon.
Wow.
Some people think we're over the moon, but we are on the moon. And so, imagination is the act or power of forming a mental image of something not present to the senses or never before wholly perceived in reality. A power that frees us from the limitations of our senses, the power of conception. Beautiful. And so this is what I'm going to be talking about today. And so she breaks down each of the 12 powers into 3 aspects. And so the first aspect is the concept. And so the concept, you begin with an idea, and that moves into the vision and then the embodiment. So those are the 3 aspects of imagination that Reverend Linda uses. But I say, in other words, imagination is our capacity to see beyond what is already known. All right, see beyond. We're seeing with our third eye, our spiritual eye, not with just our physical eyes. It is indeed a power that enables us to be creators in and of our lives and our futures. So, we usually live through our senses, and when we live through our senses and see everything out there and take in all of that input, we are living in reactivity. We have reaction to everything that we see, hear, smell, etc., because we have a history. We have a history of interacting with the physical world. And so every time we're re-stimulated by something out there, it can re-stimulate something in here. And so the power of imagination is what can take us out of what's reactive, and we can become responsive as opposed to reactive. So we think sometimes that we have to, if we don't like the way something is, we've got to change something out there. We're trying to manipulate the material, and yet what today's talk is about, what the imagination is about, it is about creating it from the inside out, not trying to manipulate the physical, but trying to create through vibrationally. When we see only with our physical eyes, we are experiencing the world of effect. So that's an interesting thought. Through our senses, we perceive the material world. Then based on our past, we interpret, make meaning, and react. And so that's how we typically do that. But when we use our power of imagination, we are seeing through the third eye, and we are free to imagine, create images of what we desire to see manifest. So this is actually the third unity principle. And I have it written down here in three or four different ways. Things, anybody? Held in mind, produce after their kind. Okay, that's the simple way. Or what we focus on expands. Or we are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. And the one I like, which is from Ellen Davenport's book, our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs have the power to create our reality. Our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs have the power to create our reality. Eric Butterworth, one of my favorite Unity people, he says, lacking the knowledge of this principle, you inadvertently reproduce your environment, be it pleasant or unpleasant, forever and ever. as you feed your imagination on what your senses dictate. When you feed your imagination on only what you see and your interpretation of it, you recreate what you see and you keep getting that. You're in a loop. But knowing this principle, you can ignore the present. And untethered by the so-called facts of life, you can imagine the present as you desire it to be and feed your desire. Jesus said, judge not by appearances, but by righteous judgment. And Eric Butterworth says it this way: don't try to set things right, but see them rightly. Don't muck around in the outer. Go inside. See with that third eye instead of the physical eyes. I like what Einstein says. Your imagination is your preview to life's coming attractions. Your imagination is your preview to life's coming attractions. So are you limiting your imagination to what the senses tell you? Or are you willing to go beyond and enter that world of unlimited possibility and to try to create a future that you can be in love with? You know, what would you rather do? Where do you feel the power? Where do you feel the power? Living in what is, what has been, what will be, the past, taking the past and moving it into the future, the past, and how does that feel? That doesn't feel very good, does it? But when you think about moving into a world that you create and a future that you can love, can you feel the power in that? You empower yourself. And so, Emmett Fox, another one of the wonderful metaphysical teachers of the last century, he wrote a little teeny manual called Mental Equivalent. Leanna, you're familiar with that one, I'm sure, right? And he says, it is not just thinking the idea. It's not just the concept, okay? The image, idea, or concept must be paired with feeling. So we can live from our history, from all the past, and bring that into the future, or we can live from mystery. You see, when we're imagining, we're going into the realm of the mysterious. It's unknown. We just know our desires, and we're trying to bring them forth, and when we have feeling about it, it's mysterious how those things come to be, how they can even come into existence. We live in that power of the mysterious. When we consciously direct our imaginations, okay, so we're always imagining. We are always imagining. Sometimes we're imagining the worst. Sometimes we're imagining the predictable outcome of someone else's behavior, a situation, etc. We're always imagining, okay? But when we consciously direct our imaginations and not only conceive of something, but feel it real, we are reprogramming our subconscious, we are rewiring our brains, and creating a new way of being from our power of imagination. Who does that sound like, Linda? Our friend Joe Dispenza, right? Joe Dispenza, I talked about him last time I was here. He was a chiropractor who, after a bike accident, had massively injured his spine, and they told him he had to have an operation and have rods put in, and he did not do that. He over time recreated his spine. Now he said he could do that because he was a chiropractor and he could imagine his spine whole, complete, perfect, according to the divine blueprint with which it was made. He could imagine that, but he had to do it. It took, I think, several months for him to even be able to think of the spine in him as perfect, whole, and complete before anything could happen. He had to feel it because those old thoughts kept coming in and they kept coming in. So that's when we start to consciously direct our imaginations. We may be flooded with old thoughts and beliefs and mental habits, but yet we can just keep turning our imaginations over to what it is we truly desire. But he says, to fully break the habit of being yourself, and say goodbye to cause and effect, to cause and effect, and embrace the quantum model of reality. Okay, so we're talking about not, if I do this, this will happen. It's like anything can happen. And it says in the Bible that all things are possible in him who believes. He says, when your body experiences an event as if it is occurring in the moment, it feels real to you. The body does not know the difference between an imagined event and one that's actually happening. It doesn't know the difference, okay? So it is based, this feeling is based solely on what you're focused on mentally and feeling emotionally. And then you are experiencing your future in the now. Do you kind of get that? That if we can feel what it is, if we can imagine what it is we desire and feel it as if it's occurring right now, we are actually causing the body to experience it as if it is happening, and we are reprogramming ourselves. It's fascinating. The moment you're in this state of being, and that now moment, and present to that experience, that's when you are connected to all possible realities that exist in the quantum field. So we're really talking about vibration. We're talking about connecting to a God that is not that God out there that we talk to. It's about the God that is the life within every cell and organ and tissue of our body. It is the life of God that is our imagination. Our imagination is one with the imagination of God. So think of the word imagination. What are the first two letters?
I am. Wow.
That's all you need to know. You are declaring, when you imagine, you are declaring your I amness, and whatever you put after that is your free will to choose. So in Ellen Davenport's book on the 5 principles, I think does a really wonderful job writing up the 5 principles of unity here. She says, for centuries, the spiritual law, this third unity, spiritual law, was considered to be about thought alone, okay? In recent decades, we have learned that feeling has more to do with creating our experience than thought. After all, the universe does not speak English. It does not need words at all. It operates as a field of energy, and so do we. Imagine yourself as a tuning fork. Your feelings at any given moment set up a vibrational tone, and the universe picks up the tone and hums along, amplifying the sound. Your vibration is reinforced no matter what. So Eric Butterworth said, we can keep creating our current reality, pleasant or unpleasant, because we're still vibrating with what is, and we're going to get more of what is. But don't you want to create something else? Okay, so let's just imagine that this is a music room, and there are guitars hung all over the wall, and they're all tuned, and I've got a tuning fork that's tuned to a G. And you hit that tuning fork, boom, and what's going to happen? Every guitar with a G string is going to start to vibrate. It's going to start to vibrate. You will set up a vibration. And so the universe is always we are like tuning forks. Whatever we vibrate is coming back to us. Look at that. You can look at it after Mary if you want. So we have to feel something in order, the universe is reading our vibration, not just our thoughts, it's our vibration. So I can say all I want, I am rich, I am prosperous, I am financially free. But if I am vibrating with lack and limitation, when I go to write my check, I'm going to get that. If I'm still angered and worry, fear, and doubt, I'm going to get more of what feeds that. So how do you do that? How do you do this? How do you do it? I mean, we can say that this is great, but how do we do it? Well, I have been studying now Neville Goddard for a little while. Anybody hear of Neville Goddard? Well, I'm telling you, he was a teacher, a lecturer from the 30s until he died in 1972, I think, or 3. He was born in English, he grew up in Barbados, and he had some real metaphysical experiences. And if you could boil down all of his teachings, it's feel it real. As a matter of fact, in one of his lectures, he says, the Christ is imagination. The Christ is imagination. And it's like, whoa, okay. So he says that's really, that distinguishes us as made in the image and likeness of God. We are creators through imagination. God created through imagination, and we are an extension and expression of that divine energy, and so therefore we too are creators. So let's he says though, okay, I've got it written here. He says he's got now you can go online and find a lot of his stuff in PDF files that you can read, or his lectures on YouTube are great. So just Neville Goddard. He says in How to Use Your Imagination, he says, when man begins to discover this power within him, he never plays the part he formerly played. He isn't just a reflector of life. From here on, he is an effector of life. Don't you want to be an effector of life and not a reflector of life? Yes. The secret is to center your imagination in this feeling of the wish fulfilled and remain there. Okay? And then we're back to Emmett Fox. Listen to what he says in his mental equivalent. 99 times in 100, the reason why metaphysical students do not demonstrate, bring something into manifestation, is they lack the feeling in their treatments, which are your desires or your prayers. They speak the truth. Oh yes, I am divine spirit. I am one with God, but they do not feel it. The second pole is missing. There's no spark. You need the two to have that spark. They say I'm divine, and they say it with no feeling. But when they say I have a terrible pain, it's loaded with feeling. And so the pain they get and the pain they keep. To think clearly and with feeling leads to demonstration, because you've then built a mental equivalent with those two poles. Do not dwell on negative things, replace them, supplant them with the right constructive things. The law of mind is that you can only get rid of one thought by substituting another. You're never going to say, so if I said, this was in his book, stop thinking, right now, stop thinking about the Statue of Liberty. Stop thinking about the Statue of Liberty. What are you laughing at, Joyce? Stop thinking about it. Can you take that out of your mind? No. So now I can say, think about the Golden Gate Bridge. Didn't your mind just leave the Statue of Liberty and went to the Golden Gate Bridge? We substitute something that we want to see for something that we don't want to see. He says, put your wonderful imagination right into the feeling of your wish fulfilled and let it remain there. So he says, imagination puts us inwardly in touch with the world of states, a state of being, and these are present now and not merely possibilities. So our state of being is in the now, and that becomes the tuning fork for attracting what it is that we desire. So he says, when you're imagining something, you don't want to think of it, you want to think from it. Now I'm going to give you a little demonstration here. So the difference between thinking of something, like visualizing something, and really being present to its happening. Okay, so close your eyes, and now I want you to imagine a baseball. Just look at that baseball. See it? Okay, now I want you to look at a tennis ball. And you can see that in your mind's eye. And now a golf ball. Okay. Now turn up your right hand, like your palm to the ceiling. And now Imagine that I am walking toward you and I have a baseball in my hand. And I place that baseball in your right hand. Feel that baseball. Maybe you can feel the smooth leather or the stitches. Feeling that baseball, how heavy it is, how hard it is. Good. Now I'm taking that out of your right hand, and now I'm putting a tennis ball in your hand. Feel the tennis ball. Feel the weight of it. Feel that furriness of it. Whatever it is that you know, just feel it. Good. Now I take that away from you, and I put a golf ball in your hand, and feel that. Feel its size, feel its shape, feel its texture. Okay, good. Now let them all go and open your eyes. Could you see the difference? Could you feel the difference?
Mhm.
The first time couldn't you clearly see the difference between a baseball, a tennis ball, and a golf ball? But there was no feeling, you weren't there. What happened when I was describing me coming over and putting it in your hand? Anybody want to say what went on for you?
I felt the weight of it.
You felt the weight of it. You really felt something.
Yeah.
So you got an experience, didn't you? The first, you were just looking at an object. The second one was an experience, was it not? That's what we're talking about when we say, feel it real. Feel it real. Now, Neville Goddard says the best time to do this is when just before you're falling asleep. So whatever it is you desire, feel it as if it's already happened. And just, what would it be like? Now, he says, go to the end results. So the end results is, say, I would like to I'd like to get a job, all right? And I'm really hoping I get a job. So a specific job or something. So rather than just saying, in my imagination, I got the job, all right? You imagine yourself walking over to the telephone and picking it up and calling your best friend. You imagine what you're saying to that best friend. You imagine you're saying that, explaining what the job is and how excited you are and when you're starting. You are in your body. You are not forming a picture, a movie of yourself doing that. You are in your body, you are feeling yourself picking up your phone, you are seeing yourself dialing numbers, you are hearing yourself say these words, I got the job. You're feeling the excitement. Do you see the difference between visualizing? It puts it out there, it's like something. But when you take it on as an experience, it has the power to transform and change something within you and bring about something into reality. So, if we don't create the imagination that you want to live into, if you don't create the imagination that you want to live into, you will live into someone else's imagination of this world. This is a quote from Bishop Royster, and Linda, you can tell us who Bishop Royster is, what his good, he's a
Sure. He is the Regional Director of Faith in Action. I'm a community organizer, and so what we're trying to do is to bring social and racial justice to Syracuse. And so he spoke at our banquet, and he just so powerfully said that you could feel the room of 400 people go, because the truth is, we continue, everything that Sibby just said is basically was said in that if you are not creating the world that you want, if you're not imagining that, you will continue to work. So Syracuse is the 9th most racially segregated city in this country. If we want to change that, we can't live into it's the 9th most racially segregated city in this country. We must live into something else. So,
Wow.
If you don't create the imagination that you want to live into, you will continuously live into someone else's imagination of what it is to live in this world. We're all walking around in a world but we have the power to transform. what is. So it's not only in our personal lives, but we're talking about in our communities and our world. We have power with our imaginations to feel it real, to feel it and be that tuning fork. So Reverend Linda said the concept comes first, and then the vision, and then the embodiment. So we have to take it on within ourselves to feel it real. Now, it's interesting though, we're not gonna, it's work, right? We have to constantly be doing something to stay aware and awake. So I created something, the Arc of Power, A-R-C, Arc of Power, got it? Like that, okay? So the A is awareness, must be aware of what's standing in the way. What's what's my negativity? What's my doubt, my fear, whatever it is? Just be aware. How am I being? And then responsibility. Own it. Okay, I am this way, and it's not a resignation. It's an acknowledgement so that you can go someplace else and recognize I have a choice. So an example, a long time ago, my friend Linda and I did the Landmark Forum, and we went to the relationship seminar, and so we had to write down what we wanted from our relationships, and I wrote down, and at that time, I went to the Landmark probably to get up the nerve to leave my marriage. And within the training, I saved not only my marriage, but my sanity, and was able to create a marriage, a relationship that is now 100% different. So what I declared was I want a relationship that is love, peace, and harmony. I can remember those three words, love, peace, and harmony. But my desire was, if he'd only change, I could have love, I'd be at peace. So I was all about blame and so on. And so I went home and I got the Arc, the Power of Arc. I got an awareness. I would have an interaction and I'd say, well, that didn't feel good. Was I being love, peace, or harmony in that interaction? I really got an awareness of how I was being within the relationship. And it was then I had to take responsibility and own how I was showing and how I was being in the relationship. And once I got that, then I was at a place of choice. I can choose to be different. I can choose a different state of being in my interactions. And over time, not only did I heal myself, but how I started being resonated with that G-string within Don that was started to vibrate as love, peace, and harmony. And so we have now a marriage that works. We created a future for our marriage that at that time I couldn't see. So the bottom line is we're always imagining. Life is always externalizing what we are imagining. And we can either imagine, or imaginations can either be held hostage to old recycled thoughts, beliefs, emotions, attitudes, mental habits, you get it, the past. And if our imaginations are held captive by our past experiences, then we're taking the past into the future. Or our imaginations we can direct our imaginations and become powerful creators of a future to love, both individually and collectively. And so now we're going to do a little meditation from Reverend Linda's book. So at the end of each chapter, she has a meditation on each power. And I'm going to start with this one. So if you just take a moment and close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, just let the window to the outer world move you to the inner world, and with one breath, open yourself, and with that out breath, relax into that vast inner space of being. I breathe into the center of my brain. Between my ears and eyes, I flood my brain with blue light, the color of midday cloudless sky, the palette of spiritual imagination. Every breath I take, every breath I release, leaves me floating in the open, infinite sky of possibilities. Nothing can weigh me down. Nothing can inhibit the free expression of my divine imagination. Soaring in infinite space, all things are possible. Divine imagination is my spiritual name and my true nature. I am a creator by divine design. I reach beyond assumptions and limitations. I am open to imagining magnificent possibilities. Through the power of conception, I catch a marvelous idea of what and how I can be, what I can do, and what I can experience. I can tell that this idea is mine to express. It captivates me. I recognize it as the possibility of fulfillment that I long for. The marvelous idea I have grasped fleshes out as a vision and a purpose before me. Like a seed planted in the ground and watered, this idea is nurtured in my power of vision. I envision the fully formed blossom now, while the seed remains deep in the womb of possibilities. I am the spiritual power of imagination, claiming my divine identity. I embody the qualities necessary for the fulfillment of my divinely inspired vision. I call forth from within me my rightful divine capacities, pouring them into fulfillment of my purpose. I have eyes to see the good within me. I have eyes to see the good around me. I have eyes to see the good path ahead of me. Whatever seems impossible, by my power of imagination, I declare all things are possible. I feel it real. I dwell in possibility as I release limiting thoughts and beliefs about myself, any other, or any situation. I embody the truth that all things are possible. Feel the vibration of dwelling in that infinite realm of possibilities. All things are possible to him who believes. Whatsoever you ask for in prayer, believing, it shall be yours. Act as if you have it, and you will have it. What we be in this moment guides us, directs us, informs the path toward that imagined future. From this moment, we create that future by feeling it and living into it now. And so it is. And you may open your eyes. And may you go forth and create a future you love.
Anybody else blown away?
Yeah, blown away.
That will be done
absolutely.
on
She could take,
organization.
also, if she wants to take any questions or
Yeah,
comments.
did you want to take any questions, comments? Sit down.
Nope, that's enough, okay.
I did that.
I'm just teasing.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing, magnificent, so inspiring. The best, the best.
Thank you.
Totally grateful.
Favorite topic?
The Power by Rhonda Burns, that book talks about the same thing
The power,
by Rhonda Burns.
oh, okay.
And it's a real easy read. And it explains the same thing in a real easy way. You can read through it really fast.
You know, and I just, Jim, is it? You know, I take his little share earlier and just say that when things are feeling like, you know, I can't get out of this, you know, mental habit or rumination or whatever. Go out in nature. Just get out there and just see God's imagination. It's like, wow, look at, I mean, driving down here, it was just so beautiful, exploding with green and every shape and shade of green. And I'm just like, well, that just inspires your imagination. All things are possible. And, you know, I flew to Washington, D.C. last Sunday, and I happened to, you know, get a cheap flight, so I got the last seat in this little plane, and so the wing was right there. And as we're just going up, and I'm watching the, you know, the little flap going, doing this, and I'm looking out and I'm going, oh my God, think about imagination. It's imagination that this vehicle that weighs a gazillion pounds can get up in the air, that, you know, everything down to the little screws holding it together. I'm like, I'm blown away by the imagination, man's imagination. Everywhere you look, man's imagination has come to fruition. So we're part of that creation, and that's like, wow, let it blow your mind, because our minds need to be blown. And so just get into some space where you can really let your mind be overwhelmed by awe, splendor, wonder, and beauty, and see it everywhere.
I want to add, when I come to this room on Sunday, it raises my vibration, and it actually throws off my singing, because when I'm at home and I practice, I tend to sing low. At my house, I feel comfortable singing low. When I come here, I can't sing low. My voice goes up. It's like,
Wow.
and my guitar's not going up. And so I have to remember to use my capo when I come here, because that'll raise my guitar up, because my voice always goes up when I'm in this room. So thank you, everyone, for raising my vibration.
Mary, did you have something?
Yeah, I was thinking about Einstein is thought of as the most intelligent man that's ever lived. And I had a poster that says, of him, and it says, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encompasses the universe.
Imagination is our avenue to mystery. So when we have knowledge, we think we've got a full container. Nothing else can get it. We think we know. We're certain of something. And only when we go to that imagination can we open up to it. And of course, we all know, you know, how he famously received the formula, you know, E equals MC squared. Is that correct? In his sleep. Why? Because he wasn't thinking, he wasn't ruminating. He'd gone to that, he was in an unlimited realm, into the unconscious, where he could access the answer that he sought. And so, you know, we too are limited by our conscious thinking, and when we go to sleep, that's why Neville Goddard says, when you start to go to sleep, feel it real. Whatever it is you desire, feel it real. Do it 2 or 3 times a day, but especially when you're falling to sleep, feel it real. Rick?
So I have this practice from HeartMath. It's called the Quick Coherence Technique, and I learned it back in 2004, and I thought the key was the deep breathing. You know, you slow your breath and induces the relaxation response, but it didn't really do much for me. And all the while I'm having this trouble sleeping at night, because I wake up in the middle of the night with my monkey mind chattering away. So I decided to give another workshop on this technique in March, and I had this aha moment. It's not the deep breathing, it's the emotion. Because they say in the process to activate a positive emotion, such as appreciation for someone, someplace, or something in your life. So I'm doing this technique now for 10 minutes right before I go to bed, and all of a sudden I am sleeping through the night like a baby.
Oh, great.
So it had this unintended side effect that I don't know how that works, but it just elevating that focus on appreciation helps me sleep better.
Thank you. Appreciation is one of the highest vibrations in David Hawkins' book, Power versus Force.
Right.
Love and appreciation are at the very top, and they are the highest vibration. And when we elevate to that, then we do get into all things are possible. And so,
Carolyn, ARC is awareness, responsibility, and
choice.
choice. I thought it was creative.
And it is. You could put, because once you choose, you are creating. So you can, yeah.
I'm an artist, and I've had a block for the last almost a year. And I just keep painting, thinking, okay, and I keep painting what I think of as not good. But my friend who's an artist and I have been, we're long distance, but we talk about, we get to choose. We could just stop putting it in our lives, and it was amazing how bad that felt. And then my friend said, well, you could go back to the old way of painting, and that felt terrible. I could use the paper instead of Yupo. No, I knew those were all not a choice, but so I know what I don't want to do.
That's right. So it's a level of awareness. Absolutely. Yep.
So
One
it
of
will
the,
be.
One of the things that I have trouble with in conversation about creativity is convincing people that they're creative. And it takes a long conversation because our minds say creative people show it. And music and art and so forth, and gee, I can't really do that. Well, not seeing the bigger picture. We have no choice from, well, I'd say probably 24 hours a day, but certainly when we're awake, we are creating every second. And you have to explain what that really means. But then to try and be creative in a different way, and it's possible, and just doing it creates the belief and seeing the result.
Absolutely.
When I do it with students, I say, well, are you creative? And you get this negative kind of thing. And I say, well, when you get up in the morning, what do? You have to think about it for a minute. Does your parent dress you every day? Etc. You're being creative in every choice you make, or what you put on your body that reflects what you're projecting to the world. So it gets the mind going a little different.
Joseph Spenza will say that we create the loop by doing the same thing every day. We get up and we're in an automatic pilot. It's like, okay, I'm gonna get here on this time, I get in the shower, I do the exact same thing every day. You might check your phone, Just try for a week, not doing what you normally do. Just break out of that, and you will see how, inspired you might get or something. Carolyn, there's the feel it real technique could work, in that, feel it real. How are you gonna feel when you've like, painted something that you are like, this is it, I'm so excited about it. Imagine yourself telling Pat, imagine yourself calling your friend and saying, oh my gosh, my block is over, I've got all these ideas. So you feel that energy of already it's happened, it's already happened. Another thing he does, he says you can go back and change the energy of something that has happened that's negative. And so that was like, whoa. you know, so you can, and so I actually remembered that, I was a school librarian, we had a speaker come, Vera B. Williams, she wrote A Chair for My Mother, and anybody that might have children might, and in that book, it was a story of her life, a picture book, their apartment building burned in New York City. And so they had to move, and the whole story is about saving for a chair for her mother who worked really hard, so a
I
comfortable
do
chair.
remember that book. That's a good book.
It's
I
a
love it.
wonderful
I do
book.
remember that book.
And she said, when she spoke was, when I experienced that as a child, oh, all the neighbors came out and gave them curtains and a table, and here, we don't need these beds anymore, and blah, 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 blah. And they furnished a new apartment for them, et cetera, et cetera. She said, my whole life I grew up thinking how poor we were, how embarrassing it was to have to take handouts from the neighbors, et cetera. She said, and I have changed that. She said, when I wrote that book, I realized how rich my life was, that the community I lived in was my wealth. And she changed the energy of a memory by, you know, consciously seeing it differently and feeling it differently. And so this book was a result of that change and shift that she had within herself. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I forget the source where I read it, but they talk about the feeling part of the creation process as energy, emotion, or emotion. And that's
Yep.
just quick hand.
That's a great way to put it. Energy in motion. And with us, we have the ability to direct that,
Yeah.
you know, it's in motion, but don't let the motion of the old energy, you know, kind of take us over. We get to
Well,
be
it's energy and motion that's creating it. We have the direction of what we want.
direction of it, that's right, that's great.
Right, yeah. Great.
One of my teachers says something that I have trouble getting my mind around. He says, everything and everyone in your world doesn't exist. Your husband doesn't exist, your wife doesn't exist, your parents don't exist, your children don't exist. And what you said today kind of helps me make sense of that, because it's all a dream, it's all imagination. Even our bodies don't exist, our minds don't exist. I had an experience once where I really went down to just presence, the I am, and nothing else was around. Nothing else existed except the I am presence. So what you're saying here, if you take it out, or maybe in, it's all imagination. It's the power of imagination, and that's how you can change an intimate relationship that seems so solid. Like, how can I make him, well, if I show up differently, then everything else will too.
Well, the truth is, you don't exist except in my mind, right? I mean, I have a story about you,
Right.
I make you up, and who you are, I really don't know, but I have an image of you, and therefore, so, you know, I really had to work on changing my image of who Don was, and so that I could, and who I was,
Right.
and then from that place of being, embodying love, peace, and harmony, then that resonated with that within him, and then
Yeah.
a healing could take place. So, pretty interesting stuff.
Just as an added thought, how many of you, in hearing basically what this is all about, thought about the law of attraction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First thing I thought.
That's what it's all about. God's universal law of attraction. And the more you understand that, the belief is easier, that you will attract to you what's actually meant to be in your vibration. Some things you won't be able to manifest, but anybody can do it, of any age.
And yeah, go ahead, Pat. Did you want to say something?
No, I was just gonna say thank you, Sylvie. I don't need-
Thank you, that was amazing. That was wonderful.
We can change our vibrational feel about the weather and about politics.
Mhm.
Just
Yes.
FYI.
Yeah, you talked about the cloudless blue sky, and that took imagination.
Well,
Binghamton, that takes imagination to picture.
well, so, you know, I mean, I
But we
did-
get to use it this week.
Yeah.
Here's we're gonna be using
I
that.
don't know if I actually brought it, but yeah, I did. So, you know, John Lennon's song.
Imagine.
Imagine there's no heaven.
Right.
There's no place outside, up there, there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. We make the hell that we live in. If there is a hell, we make it. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Nothing to defend, nothing to project. Imagine all the people living in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I know that everyone in this room is a dreamer too. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. We live into that future, not by blaming, shaming, putting down, engaging the energy of the negativity, but we bring forth a healing to our country, our planet, through our imaginations, and we see each other as divine extensions of that creative power as well. And we can heal. We can join together and heal. We can. Heal all the ills of that.
I will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
That's right.
Anyhow,
Beautiful, thank you, amen.
very good. I mean,
How can I get in touch with you? I used your old email.
good morning.
Morning.
We are without programs today, so we're going to wing it. Stay with me. If I forget something, bring it to my attention. But I do know we usually start by calling in that one power and that one presence with the statement of oneness. If we could say it together, if you know it. There's but one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God, the good, omnipotent. For that presence. Let's share that love to our neighbors. Greet our neighbors. Oh wait, there's a few new faces here. You've had been here before, but I forget your
I
name.
have Linda.
Linda, okay, and this is Sibby. If anybody that is not familiar with Sibby, she'll be giving a message today. The rest of us should know each other from.
Hello.
Doesn't help at all.
Do the first song?
That's fine. Yeah, it's time for music. There you go.
Okay, the
Thanks.
first song is, I'm going to play it through the speaker. It's by Chris Foster. It's called Be Peace Expressing.
Let's stand together. Let's make a new day. Let's lift up each other and find a new way. Tomorrow's upon us. The future is here. Let's love one another and release all our fear and be peace, expressing in the world. Be the joy and the light of the Spirit, expressing in the world. Be love, expressing in the world. Be the hope of the heart of the Spirit, expressing in the world. Make a commitment. Open your heart. Don't stand there in judgment. And keep love apart. way is clear. Loving each other, eliminates fear. Need peace, expressing in the world. Being the joy and the light of the Spirit, expressing in the world. Be love, expressing in the world. Be the hope and the heart of the Spirit, expressing in the world. Be the hope and the heart of the Spirit, expressing in the world.
Very good. Lineup. Today, as we said, will be City Morrow. Next Sunday will be Edmund Cotton. On the 16th, it will be Rick Ridley. Can you give us a little insight or too early?
It's very early.
Okay.
It's supposed to be Father's Day.
To be determined.
Something to do with Father's Day, we know that much.
Yeah, something
Okay.
to do with Father's Day.
All right, that'll be on the 19th. On the 23rd, 23rd. Oh, that's, Rick is on the 16th. And Valerie Zeal will be on the 23rd. And Jody Kessler's coming in on the 30th. First Sunday of the month is usually a board meeting. I'm not too sure if there's going to be a board meeting today. I don't see quorum
I
here.
think it's up in the air.
We'll have to wait and see. Next Sunday, we have the coffee hour. If you want to come a little early, bring a little snack for congregations, for all three congregations that meet on Sundays, that'd be great. And are there any other announcements?
So I just want to remind everybody, Wednesday nights, 6:30 is Course in Miracles here at the church. And Monday mornings at 9:30, Course in Miracles at the Gilligans at their place in Vestal. And today till 4 o'clock, there's a yoga fest going on Upper Front Street where the farmer's market is near the college there.
Cornell
Cooperative
Cooperative?
Extension.
Cooperative Extension, that's the word. That's today till 4, so that should be fun.
Good enough. We open our hearts and doors to new individuals and families, and we know that the right and perfect people are joining us at the right and perfect time. And we have already greeted our neighbors at that. As we move on to our special unity moment. Does anybody have anything happen this week that reminds them of divine order or presence or? good
Yeah, I
things?
got something. I was on a retreat and in an unfamiliar lake rental house, and I fell down 2 flights of stairs.
Wow,
But I didn't break anything, I didn't sprain anything,
wow.
I made all of the turns. But I thank God and I thank yoga, because I
Yeah.
practice yoga and that helped me a lot.
That probably
You kept
being in
loose.
touch with
Yeah. I
the body
kept loose.
movements probably would help.
Right, I rolled with.
However,
with
mine
the
was
Wait a
just the
minute.
opposite.
I suggest next time, don't make a turn, just.
That was not an option.
My story is about opposite. On Tuesday, I was at work and I made an improper turn. And I
Oh,
paid the price for it.
ooh,
I was decapacitated for a couple days with my back being locked out.
ouch,
But there is regenerative power in the body.
yes,
And I'm here today, just a little tightness,
nice.
not too bad. Yeah. Mary?
Yeah, I had a meeting with the water department of the city at the house with a tenant that has been less than cooperative at letting me get in there. And we ended up having a nice long talk because the city got there late. So we had a long talk, and I just really felt the guiding of the Spirit in the conversation, and was able to bring peace to the whole situation. And I was really happy
The
about
spirit brought peace
Very
instead of
good.
conflict. Imagine that.
My best unity moments, I think, are in the woods, which is where I was yesterday. Does everyone know that yesterday was National Hiking Day?
No. Didn't know that.
Which the local hiking club does trail maintenance on the Finger Lakes Trail. And they're responsible for 32 miles clearing these trails. So we spent all day clearing about 2 miles at the most. The group I was with. So
Did it rain?
Sorry?
Rain?
Did it rain? No, it sprinkled a little bit. It was a gorgeous day.
Finger Lakes Trail goes through the reservoir too, doesn't it? Doesn't that
This
stretch
was
all the way
above
through
green.
Canfield?
Above green.
It's worth it.
It's a long trail.
But the one, spend more time looking at trees. I've read probably 4 books on how you can communicate with a tree, any tree, in case you didn't know that. You can mentally telepathy. Not that I can do it, but people that write the books. So right where we were parked, there's a trail marker, and right behind it is this maple tree, which was maybe 5 feet in diameter. I've never seen a tree like that. So here's a trunk. From about here up are 3 trunks coming out of this maple base. And then it goes up further, and this size, like trunks coming out of those. It's an amazing tree.
The spirit expressing itself in the world. Isn't that the song we just listened to?
Yes.
Yeah,
It wouldn't
wow.
correspond with me, but
Or did you hug it?
I sort of did.
I remember last fall I was driving through the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. Suddenly I said, that was a happy tree. I don't know what made me say that, but I just recognized that's a happy tree. It's glad to be a tree. Yeah, you can communicate with them if you listen. Or they'll communicate with you.
The tree was happy to see you, that's why.
No, I doubt that because we were driving past it in clients. Anything else? Okay. I believe it's time to read the Daily Word. Anybody want to read the Daily Word for us? Hello.
Today is Sunday, June the 2nd, 2019. Diversity. I appreciate the vastness and diversity in the world. As I walk through a garden blooming with spring flowers, I delight in the symphony of colors and fragrances. When I pause and look more closely, I see that no 2 blossoms are identical. I appreciate both the exquisite beauty of the garden and the unique contribution that each blossom offers. In the beautiful diversity of colors, shapes, and fragrances, I experience the beauty of God. As I grow in spiritual awareness, I recognize that the human family, even more magnificent than a spring garden, reflects the beauty and the glory of God. Each racial, cultural, and spiritual group within the human family adds richness to the human experience. Each person expresses the beauty of God in a unique way. And from Genesis 1:31, God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good.
Flowers and trees. Right, and trees? That's the right.
Yes, there's beautiful roses as you come in. Did everybody notice the red roses? And there's a whole group of them, maybe about 10 bushes. It was so amazing.
I want to skip over to prayer and meditation because I believe Cindy has a meditation involved in her message today.
That's right.
Okay, good. Rose, you have another song for us?
And so I took some of the words from an old song and then I added a couple new verses. So I had fun with this week. I was inspired by Sibby's words for her upcoming talk, so I put those into one of the verses. Every moment you have the freedom to choose what you want to do. Today is a new day. It's not too late to try something new. We can use our imagination to create a future we love. Instead of waiting for someone or something outside of us. As I reach for a higher vibration, I'm ready for a transformation. I let go of my limited vision. I know there's a divine mission, universal energy collaborates with me. The light illuminates the way as I create the day. Is there something you feel is missing from your life? Maybe it's love, maybe it's kindness, maybe it's praise. Maybe you don't know, but you already have this inside you. If you want love, express love. If you want kindness, be kind. As I reach for a higher vibration, I'm ready for a transformation. I let go of my limited vision. I know there's a divine mission, universal energy illuminates the way. As I create the day. As I create the day. As I create the
You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings. And with every step you take, bless the progress that you make. The reason you live is there in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams. You will do amazing things. places you will go, and the people you will know. Don't worry when, where, or how. You You don't need to know that now. You're on the right track. No need to look ahead or back. Just enjoy what this day brings. You will do amazing things. You don't have to work it out. Just stay in the here and now. Let your mind rest for a little while. Sometimes deepest answers come when you're out there having fun. So close your eyes, take a breath, and smile. Amazing, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things.
And followed by the prayer of protection. I just want to say, being intellectual, I don't often get truth mixed with emotions. Okay? Uplifting service.